This is just a short review of some of the conservative and liberal idea systems. So conservatives believe in traditional American values, usually based on Judeo-Christian beliefs. And some of those include like the work ethic, Protestant work ethic, where if you work hard, then you'll get ahead. That there is opportunity to achieve in the United States if you put your mind to it. That there is moral absolutism, which is the belief of right or wrong. Some of the other things that conservatives do, and I think that liberals do too, that American exceptionalism is the idea that America is unique and really kind of better than other nations, that we offer something different than other nations do. Free markets and free trade have been expanded in recent years. They have always been a belief in the capitalistic system, but they have had more influence by libertarians who ultimately believe in unrestricted free markets and also little government to regulate or limit the power of those businesses. Individualism, also individual liberty, is stressed that if you want to get ahead, it's up to you to put the work forth to get ahead. But when we talk about crime, most conservatives, and based on what I've just gone over, see people as rational beings that choose their behavior. They know what is right and wrong, and they have this free will to make these choices. And so if they choose to do wrong, then they deserve to be punished in order to deter them from future behavior. I did add something here, though. Recently, the conservatives and the liberals have really kind of come to a very nice point in history where they both support what is referred to as, and I've got it spelled wrong though, one thing that we have to look at are conservative and liberal belief systems, and then how that spurs politics. So conservative beliefs traditionally focus on American values based on Judeo-Christian beliefs. And although sometimes it's hard to specifically nail down what are those American values, I would say that there is a belief that America is the land of opportunity, a Protestant work ethic. If you work hard, you can get ahead. If you follow the Judeo-Christian ideals, then you know what is right and what is wrong, which leads into the second of moral absolutism. Now, I do want to say that not all Judeo-Christian belief systems are as strict as many of the conservative belief systems that we see. So when you have issues such as like birth control, that depending on what Christian sect you are, you may have a difference of opinion. American exceptionalism is also a conservative belief, also a liberal belief as well, that America is unique and better than other nations. And that uniqueness is really something that is desired. Embedded in this is the idea of free markets and free trade, and the individualism, where everybody is entitled to individual liberty to do what they want, as long as they don't harm others. Now, one of the influences on the conservative belief system, probably in the last 20 years, has been libertarians who really want to eliminate government. So conservatives want limited government, which really equates to less social programs, less government regulation, and limited governmental power. When we talk about crime, though, conservatives tend to believe that man or people are rational and no outside forces cause them to make their choice. They choose because of free will to do right or wrong. And if they choose to do wrong, then it is the government's obligation to punish them. And this punishment has a variety of reasons, but most believe that the punishment will lead to some type of deterrence from future behavior. The research and actual history shows that most people who are punished are not deterred from future behavior, and that's why we have 2/3 of the population that's incarcerated recidivating. But more recently, conservatives in many states support what is referred to as justice reinvestment. And I'll talk about this near the end. Liberal beliefs really center around social justice, economic equality, and opportunity. Again, the belief system that everybody should have an equal chance to get ahead. They believe in individual liberty, as well as equality for all, that the government should promote this equal opportunity for everybody, including race, gender, religion, education. They see a more expansive role for the government in that it's supposed to protect individuals from being harmed by others. Although they do recognize that there is a need to balance this so that government is not a threat to liberty. And social program should be part of what the government does to help Americans achieve that equality. So a lot of times you hear the name welfare state, and it's tied to liberals, but conservatives as well believe in many of these social programs. For example, Social Security, something to make sure that people have money when they retire, that the government pushed for both employers and employees to put money into the Social Security system so that then they would be better off when they retired. The liberals also believe in the free market and free trade. In other words, both conservatives and liberals believe in capitalism, but I think that liberals tend to want to limit the ends and place boundaries so that capitalism stays in balance, so that it is fair and equal to everybody entering into it. They also believe in individualism, although that they are more science-based. They look at what does the research tell us. And so some of the things that they might contrast with conservatives are on protecting the environment. Although I have read some studies that both conservatives and liberals tend to want to protect the environment. But when you get fiscal conservatives, they look at how much it's going to cost. And when you have libertarians who don't want any regulation, they then start to ignore the research because it will interfere with what I would call an unfettered free market. Now, liberal beliefs towards crime says that people obviously choose crime, but that social conditions or biological factors may influence their behavior. And they also support justice reinvestment. So justice reinvestment is really the first time since I have been involved in criminal justice the conservative and liberal factions have been on the same page, and they borrowed stuff from each other. So, justice reinvestment, first of all, holds the offender accountable so that if they do slip up, they know that there is going to be some consequence for that action. The second thing that they look at is evidence-based programming, which really is science-based. They don't want to waste money because conservatives are fiscally conservative or fiscally responsible. They like balanced budgets. But when it comes to crime, one of the things that they looked at is that mass incarceration really costs too much money. And ultimately, you can't make every behavior in society deviant because then it drives up what you need in the criminal justice system. So I think that justice reinvestment really is an opportunity for us to move forward with a more fiscally sound, but also evidence-based, treatment-oriented type of criminal justice system. The other thing that is kind of interesting about justice reinvestment is that it was started by conservatives who, Chuck Colson, who went to prison, federal prison for Watergate, noticed that his belief system on what he thought criminals were was really challenged when he met people that were in for drugs and were in for selling drugs, but seemed to be, other than that criminal activity, someone worthy of trying to rehabilitate. Another person that was really responsible was a man named Pat Nolan, who also went to prison for campaign funding. And his experience was much the same as Chuck Colson's. He gets to prison thinking that these criminals are terrible people and finds out that they're the ones willing to help him and the officers wouldn't help him. And so because both of these conservative men were very faithful in their religious beliefs, they took on a new belief system that it was part of that Judeo-Christian calling that they should be trying to help people change their lives for the better. This then matched some of the liberal ideas that had been floating around for a few decades. And together, starting in the 2000s, really, it actually started in the 90s, but really got going in the 2000s, where you saw both liberals and conservatives working together. So there are many states today that have revamped their criminal justice system to meet this justice reinvestment idea. And those include a lot of the southern states that would be considered traditionally conservative, such as Texas, Georgia, South Carolina, etc. Something for you to look into when you have time.